Yeah, I can always edit this video, so it's recording now, yeah.
Are you sure you don't need to be in a suit?
Yeah, just a practice.
And she said to dress up for all your things. Is this part of your grade?
Yeah.
Well, then you should go get dressed up.
Honey, this is a practice. I have to dress up for the real one.
Did she say you had to dress? But she said you had to dress up for all of them.
Yeah, all of the presentations. This isn't the real presentation.
Are you really gonna dress up for your real presentation?
Maybe a little bit. Okay, how do I present here? Zoom. Okay. So I would serve you the cookies. Welcome everyone. Today I want to talk a little bit about UX. I'm going to start with a video.
We also had to get the phone turned on. I'm at my friend's house. I call the phone company. Can you turn on our telephone? Okay, it's going to be a problem. I figured. How? Why? It's just going to be a big nightmare. That's our policy. It's going to be a nightmare. Something about hell on earth. It's different than I thought. I didn't know how it worked, so I asked him, how does that work? Do we have to wait in our home for a few days for the phone people to come out? No, we do it differently now. We can just flip the switch from right here. Oh, great. Can you go ahead and flip it? We're going to flip it next Thursday. Can you flip it right now? We're going to flip it Thursday, late, or Friday, or sometime in November.
Okay. Here's another one, but I probably won't show it. So, the reason I play that is because comedians are great at pinpointing bad user experiences. And just in that show, Brian Regan, he talks about hospitals, he talks about airplanes, he talks about going to the optometrist, he talks about the design of an ironing board and how finicky that can be. And it's just funny because it's not just him, it's every comedian. You can look at, Bill Cosby talks about the dentist, Seinfeld talks about the supermarket, or he talks about airplanes too. They're real good at finding bad user experiences. And it goes to show that experiences are really important in everything we do in our day-to-day lives. This is a question I just want you guys to think about, kind of a rhetorical question for you guys to think about as I go through this presentation, is how important is user experience to the success of Clearlink? So just keep that in mind as we go through this. Now, before I get into it, I want to share 3 principles with you guys today of good user experience design. But before we do that, I think the first thing you really need to establish is who are our users, who are we designing for as the Clearlink brand team. And I narrowed it down to at least 4 main groups. There may be more, but these are the ones that I think kind of sum it up. So I hope it's not cut off like that when I really present. That's interesting. So first of all, we have Clearlink's clients, so AT&T, Verizon, CenturyLink, Dish Network, DirecTV, whatever it is. And for them, we're kind of designing this, Chris and the copywriters have been coming up with how we talk about the, ICX, the Intelligent Customer Experience. And that's kind of, what we're pitching as a company. We have potential clients. And so any company that could possibly use Clearlink as a provider of marketing or sales or customer service. And for them, we designed the Clearlink website. That's kind of our big net, fishing net to try to catch potential clients. Clearlink employees we design for every day. This might be the biggest group that we design for actually, at least me and Chase and Tanner every day we're designing, slide decks for the account management team. We design materials for the new hires. Chase works on the Fuse software for the sales employees. And Tanner works on designing t-shirts and swag for all the employees, and those are all experiences that people interact with that are important to our company. And then lastly, consumers, we're designing blog posts or outreach pieces that regular everyday people will read online, hopefully. So we need to keep these people in mind, and maybe when I'm actually giving the presentation, I can write this down on a whiteboard so they can see that as we see that and have that in front of them as we go through and talk about what we're designing, and they can keep thinking about who we're designing for. So let's focus on our audience. That's the first principle that I wanted to talk about. Now that we know who our audience is, we really need to keep them in mind as we're designing, because a good design for one person might be a terrible design or a terrible experience for another person. So for each principle, I want to highlight an example of a company or a website or something that does a really good job of this. So Spotify, which I'm pretty sure all of you use, except for Chris, is a software it's basically a reflection of the user. You have playlists like Discover Weekly and like Summer Rewind and Time Machine and stuff like that. It's basically a reflection of what the user likes to listen to. And so Spotify really nailed that one. Like, you can't go wrong giving somebody, a music curator or somebody that listens to music, a good experience when you're feeding them exactly what they're telling you that you like. And we're going to talk more about using data to inform our design decisions, but Spotify does a great job of that. And they're always focused on their user and the interface that will work best for them. So that's just something to keep in mind as you're looking at your Illustrator screen or whatever you're designing, or for the copywriters if you're writing something. Always be thinking of the user that you're designing for as you do that design. Number 2, I want to talk about user testing. And for those of you who are at our design conference, our Torched Design Conference earlier this year, we listened to this guy named Ian Spalter. He is a designer at Nike and Foursquare and YouTube, and now he's like the head designer at Instagram or something like that. And he talked about this concept of designers being better comedians. And what he meant by that is how comedians, they use user testing as a kind of as a cycle when they're designing their bits. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to show the comedian bit at the beginning of this, is to give you an idea of how, like with Brian Regan, for example, he's telling a joke, and as he's telling a joke, he's not just having a good time, he's listening to his customer base and what jokes they're laughing at. And he shows some interviews in this talk of interviews with comedians, and they talk about how not only can they, obviously they can tell when people aren't laughing, they're never going to use that joke again, but they can even tell the difference between good laughs and bad laughs, and they get really good at pinpointing, what they need to do to make a joke better. There's an interview with Jerry Seinfeld where he talks about shaving letters, like literally making a word a letter shorter, using an abbreviation or something to get it just fine-tuned just right. And that should sound familiar as designers, as we are making these, fine-tuned adjustments to our designs or to a headline that, you're writing as a copywriter or something like that. So that's something that I wanted to focus on, is really using data to inform our design decisions and constantly going through this cycle of designing and testing with our users, and then analyzing the data, and then designing and testing and analyzing and keeping that going, so we're always pumping out better and better solutions. One example of user testing, this is something that Jenny Moore, one of the designers on the consumer team, shared with the rest of the designers on Slack the other day. This is an example of a company that originally had a stock photo. It's a company that does educational classes for people to get their commercial driver's license. and they originally just had a stock photo of a guy in a truck on their website. And they did an A/B test where half of the web visitors were seeing this image, and the other half of the web visitors saw the same website with an image, a real image of a student standing in front of one of their trucks with their branding on it and everything like that. And it showed that once they used this real image, that their conversion on that website went up 161% just from that subtle design change. Because I guess when they saw this picture, it built more trust, seeing that, this is a real established company that have trucks with their branding on it, and they're, helping real people and stuff like that. So just a little test like that could make a big difference in our design and how it will affect our users. I think the screen is just not working right.
You didn't fit it to the screen.
Oh, okay. I'll have to make sure I do that when I do the actual presentation. So, as designers, you hear this a lot, the importance of user testing, but sometimes you go back to your desk and you're not really sure how to implement it. So I just wanted to kind of give some real world examples of how we can do this. Say for instance, we're working on the ClearLink website. We can use that MouseFlow software to see where people's mouses are going when they're using the website to observe our visitors' behavior. Say Chase is designing the Fuse software, he can go down to the sales floor and watch sales reps use the software as they're placing an order. For the brand partner tour that we're going to be designing, we can get a tour up and going that is good enough to take a brand partner around, but we can try different things on the brand partner as we go through and see what they like and see what they don't like, and continually make it better. If with the blog posts, as the copywriters are pumping out more and more content, just paying attention to what types of content get attention, get likes or clicks or shares, and what types of content don't, and then helping that inform what kind of content we want to produce in the future. So that just gives you some ideas. The last principle I wanted to talk about is this principle of delight in design, and not just making a experience good enough to be used, but really making it fun so that users will want to use your product or your service or whatever it is that you're designing for them. So the example that I wanted to use for this one is Moo, M-O-O, the website that I use to order our company business cards every month. For something as monotonous as ordering business cards, I actually enjoy doing it every month because this website does such a good job with their user interface. And in my real presentation, I'll probably go and show them the website and the order process. I'm logged in on my work laptop, so that'll be easier to do. But I even have I signed up for their newsletter, so I'm also going to show the newsletter and just how their branding lines up. Everything looks kind of like this on all the pages of their website and all the images that they have, and you can really tell that they're really focused on their user and making it fun and interactive. And you look at this and you think, wow, they do a really good job, and they'll probably do a good job with my business cards or whatever it is I'm printing through them. So that's a great example of a great user experience. So this is the main takeaway that I wanted everyone to get is that question that I asked at the beginning of the presentation, is user experience really going to make a difference? And I think that it really can make the difference between gaining a new customer or not getting a new customer. I just wanted to share an experience. My family went to Salt Lake a few weeks ago, and we had dinner at Johnny Rockets at the City Creek up in Salt Lake, and it was just such a good experience. I've been there a few other times in my life, and I remember it just always being cool. You have the retro feel, and the Coca-Cola advertisements on the walls and the jukeboxes, and it was just fun. And the server was really nice, just this nice guy who was making sure, waiting on us hand and foot, being personable, and bringing us everything that we needed, asking to make sure that we had everything that we needed. And it's funny because the burger that I got wasn't even that good. It was this kind of overly greasy burger. Tasted all right, but it was just, it was kind of falling apart, and it was kind of a not a great product, but the experience as a whole was so good that I would go back to eat at Johnny Rockets in a second. The contrasting story that I wanted to tell is we just moved up here to West Jordan, and I had to find a new hair cutter or barber or whatever, and so we got a coupon to go to get a free haircut at Sports Clips. I'd never been there before. So I go to Sports Clips after work one day, and they have you sign on this little tablet thing, and it said like, "You've been here before," or something like that. And I was like, "Oh, that's weird. I've never been here before." And so I sat down to get my haircut, and I was like, "Yeah, I got this coupon for a free haircut, I guess." And the girl was like, "Oh, well, that's only for new customers." And I was like, "Oh, well, I've never been here before." And she was like, "Oh, well, in our system it said that you've been here before or whatever." And anyways, long story short, it was a bad experience. Even before that happened, I just walked in and I saw it just looked kind of trashy, and the people that worked there did not look like people that I wanted cutting my hair. And so even though they did a decent job on my haircut, the product was good, the experience was bad. So kind of the opposite of what happened at Johnny Rockets. And I will probably never go back to Sports Clips because of that. And so that's just the point that I wanted to make in this presentation, is that the experience that we allow our customers or our users to have really makes a big difference, and we should be thinking about our users and using data about them to inform our design decisions on a daily basis. So, thank you.